Friends, welcome to the show. We are the Final Picture Show podcast, and tonight we are here to talk about Terminator 2
Oh yeah.
Judgment Day. One of the, I guess I would say like one of the most important movies ever made, probably at this point.
I'm with it.
Yeah, I think that it goes that, like, as we'll talk about later when we get into the background of this movie, but eventually this movie would be considered one of the most important movies ever made. And it's been preserved now, so to speak.
Oh, has
If
it?
you can, yes, it has. It was considered like a tribute to American arts. Terminator
Ooh.
2. There you go. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal. Good movie.
Oh,
Everyone
right.
knows
It's a
that.
very
So
good.
we're gonna kind of talk about both the plot and the background of this lovely feature of ours. But before we do that, how you been? How's everything going?
It's not bad. I'm starting to realize, like, I am not a people person. No,
I'm there with you on that.
right. No, it's work stuff. It's
Yeah.
this weird thing where, cause I talk to people now. Or like customers now,
Hmm.
and they will have comments to me like, "You're not doing your job very good," and I'm like, "Well, yes, that's exactly what I'm doing." Anyway, like just because it's a thing that's impossible to do. No, anyway, but no, it's just been just a just a little bitch fest for me,
Yeah.
But other
Yeah.
than that, I mean, like today was great. I talked to great people today. More of that, please.
I can
So
relate to the frustrations. We are,
yeah.
for those loyal listeners, you'll know that I'm a teacher, and we are entering into the final weeks of school before we get out for the summer. And to say
Oh
the
yeah.
natives are restless is an understatement. They are incredibly restless, and so
I believe it.
trying to do things to entertain them. I tried doing an AMA today, so I had them like just ask
Oh,
me whatever they wanted. I got some bizarre questions,
oh, I have
but
to get a sample of that.
one of them was like, some of them were like meme shit. I mean, they're high school students, so it was like, are there more doors or windows in the world? And I got super literal with it. I was
Well,
like, well, what's your definition of the word door?
ooh.
Then I used like chair. I got very semantic with them. I was like, is this a chair? That's a chair. What is this stool over here? A chair? What defines chair to you, child? Define your terms. So stuff like that. And there
I
was some
like it.
questions. How did you meet your wife? What
Oh,
is your
cool.
favorite high school memory? What was your favorite subject? Stuff like that. Like just silly,
Oh,
questions. No
okay.
one, no one took it anywhere like into any kind of like a nefarious territory that I was teetering on, thinking
Right? Like,
for a moment. But no,
whoa,
they
what did
kept
it feel like
bringing.
when you first killed a man?
We'll say like we're getting ready for finals, and so most of the questions were pertaining to that. They were like, "How many questions are it? How hard is the test? Why
Oh,
do we have to take it?" And I'm just like, "All right,
oh, that's disappointing, but
here's
expected.
your reasoning." Is like, it's like, you want to know why you got to take it? Because I need quantitative and qualitative data sets. Like, there you go, kids. here's your
Oh.
there's your there's your narrow minded viewpoint, kind of just
Yep.
get rid of all the everything else and just focus on what it is, which is I need data sets. So anyway, moving away from that, our sign of the apocalypse this week was a sad one. We lost a guy that we actually just talked about not too
Yeah.
long ago. Was in Space Truckers. We'll talk about him again in a couple other movies. Fucking Norm, George Wendt died, and
Man.
today as we're recording, like right before we were recording, I think it happened a couple
Yeah.
hours ago. Fucking awful news,
Man.
man.
Yeah. Like,
Just terrible news. I'm sad to hear that
well,
George
it's
Wendt died.
very sad. He's one of those guys. Like, of course, Norm. Norm. Always
Yeah.
stick in my head. But I would just see him randomly in a movie, and I'd just be like, "This is awesome." Like,
Yes, he's in a bunch of random horror movies and sci-fi movies and all kinds of
yeah.
stuff. Like his appearance in Space Truckers was, as we looked at him when we reviewed that movie, we kind of looked at his filmography a little bit, just a little bit, and we kind of talked about
Yeah,
how
he's
like
very
he's in all
prolific. Like, he's
kinds
a
of
work.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
he's
there's
all
that
kinds of
one
things.
movie. I don't know if this. I'm about to really out myself as lame as hell. You remember the movie Man of the House with Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Chevy Chase?
Not only do I remember it, I've watched it in the last year.
Oh, okay. So is it bad that I say George Wendt in that movie is the best part for me?
Oh, he's the greatest part of that movie. Him
Yeah.
and the whole like tribe scenes with who's the
Yes.
other guy that's in it? The other
Oh,
character actor who's in a bunch of movies. Like
yeah.
basically every part of Man of the House with actually I was going to say Chevy Chase is bad in that movie. That's actually one of Chevy Chase's more endearing movies.
I think so. I could see
I
that.
actually, because like me and my wife watched it not too long ago, like probably with three
That's
or four
funny.
months ago.
That's
Yeah,
such
it
a
was like, well,
long.
we were just hanging out watching stuff on the Disney Channel, and it popped up as like we watched
Yeah.
something else beforehand. I think Jungle to Jungle was what we watched
Awesome.
beforehand because I always make the comment with my wife. I'm like, why did they never do Jungle 3 Jungle? You know, um,
Where's Jungle One Jungle?
well, it's gonna call it
Or would it
Jungle,
just be? I was going to say it'd
Jungle,
just be Jungle.
Jungle, Jungle. And then you got Jungle 2 Jungle, Jungle 3 Jungle, Jungle 4 Jungle. It's a whole fucking series that was just lost to time.
The
Instead,
jungling.
instead we just got the one. It's a damn shame. No, so we were watching Jungle to Jungle as you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, elder millennials, yeah. Find yourself
Okay.
watching bullshit on the Disney Channel, and yeah, and then from that led to Man of the House. And I remember
Okay.
both me and my wife watched it, and we got done watching it, and both of us were like, "That wasn't like that was actually pretty good." Like that. That's
See, I
one of
need
those
to watch
movies
it
that
again.
kind of holds up pretty well.
See, that's good.
There are
That's
some
good to
dumb
know.
parts of it, but yeah, the George
Well,
Wendt is a fantastic part.
yes.
He's a fantastic part. And sadly, he passed today.
Yeah.
So there's our sign of the apocalypse. There
We
are
lost.
countless others we could go over, but
I was
we'll
gonna
choose
say
to
we
be
also lost
positive, kind of.
We lost Joe Don Baker too. I don't know
That's
if anybody
another
knows.
one.
I was gonna say that might just be a me thing.
No, that popped up. I remember you texted me about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
was in
that
the
one
middle
hit
of
me.
working, so I didn't get to respond. But yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah.
And like, there's a ton of other stuff going on with politics and everything like that. Like I said, we're
isn't
trying
there?
to, in the immortal words of Henry Rollins, rise above and
Nice.
see if we can go without talking about him for just a night, which is
Oh,
probably going to be impossible with this film here. Let's just
Oh,
dive on in.
shit,
We're
you're right.
7 minutes in. Might as well talk about Terminator 2
Oh yeah, the
coming out
reason for-
on July 3rd, 1991. Yes, the reason we are here.
Yeah.
July 3rd, 1991, directed by James Cameron, a man we
Yes.
have talked about in passing, but never talked about directly. He
Mm-hmm.
obviously is the reason we have Michael Bay, for good
Yes.
and for bad, when everything that is there. But the reason we have James Cameron is George Lucas, because before he became a film director, he was a truck driver until he saw The New Hope and then decided, shit, I got wire, and decided he would get himself into directing. And that, of course, led to him making a lot of movies, Piranha 2. He also wrote Rambo Part 2, which is kind of a funny little coincidence there. Obviously, the Avatar movies have taken up the bulk of the last, 30 years of his fucking life. It's so silly. That's the only reason I dislike the Avatar movies, is because there's so much time spent on them. We have not gotten to see any of the other movies that James Cameron probably could have done.
Yeah, for
And that
real.
kind of sucks, because he's just been doing Avatar for so fucking long. But before that, we got Titanic, True Lies.
Yes.
There's a fucking classic one.
Yes.
Talk about a silly goddamn movie that needs to be reevaluated. True Lies is insane. So
Yes.
much nonsense happens in that movie that is just,
Yes.
it's like a comic book come to life. Jamie Lee Curtis's striptease, the fucking driving scenes with fucking Bill Pullman or Bill Paxton. I forget which one is in that
yeah, Bill
movie. They
Paxton.
both might be. I don't know. God knows. They both might be in that movie. Oh, Lord. And then, of course,
you get
go ahead.
what's his name? Tom Arnold's in there too.
Tom
and
Arnold. Yes.
I like
yes.
him more than most people do.
I'm aware of your love of the movie The Stupids.
Oh God,
It's a movie you've talked to me about
one of
several
these
times,
days,
and I've tried to
I would-
defend, and I've just been like, no, I'm not. I refuse. I refuse to accept
anybody
your
ever
defense
wants
on
me-
that movie.
I was going to say, if anybody ever wants to hear me defend the Stupids, it's a thing. I will do it.
Well, James
It's
Cameron also directed, besides Terminator 2, Terminator 1, The Abyss, and of course the classic Aliens.
Yes,
So, was also the writer here.
he's been a fixture
as
of our
well.
lives for sure. I mean, these movies. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Big time.
Oh yeah.
Was also the writer of this film as well, as he wrote, or as co-written a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
As well as he's worked alongside many writers. The one he's working alongside here, really two of them, and we'll talk about the other one who kind of gets credit later on, only after the movie came out for some time. And so one of the writers is a man by the name of William Wisher, who also wrote Terminator 1 and 2. He would also write Judge Dredd, as well as 13th Warrior,
Awesome.
Live Free or Die Hard, Exorcist the Beginning, Pumpkinhead, Broken Arrow, Eraser, Mercury Rising, Die Hard with the Vengeance, and Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Dream Child.
Awesome. Honestly, all bangers.
Yeah. I was going to say, his got a lot of good ones to his name. Quite a lot there. So they collaborated and wrote this movie in a total of about 6 to 7 weeks. That's how long they had to work on it. Now, they borrowed a lot from a man who they did not give credit to at the time, and who would later get credit for a lot of his work that they borrowed from. And that was a man we've already talked about, and that's Harlan Ellison.
Yep.
He would get credit later on for having a tremendous amount of influence on this movie, in spite of the fact that he did not receive credit for having anything to do with it when it was actually being written. So,
Goodness.
There you go. Let's get into our cast. Now that we've talked about our director and writer, our cast, of course, is Arnold, a man who we are talking about for the first time, but not the last time. We will talk about him again a few more times. He's been in a couple post-apocalyptic, pre-apocalyptic movies, my favorite of which is End of Days. That movie is fucking ridiculous. If I need to describe End of Days to you in one sentence, those of you that have never seen it, Arnold versus Satan. There you go.
Oh. See, I'm one of those that hadn't seen it.
I was going to say, that'll either hook you with that, or you'll be like, oh, I'm terrified of what that looks like. But yes, Arnold in all of his 90s glory against Satan. That's basically the premise of End of Days summed up. It's more complex and stupid than that. The movie's not very good. But if you simplifying it down to its sums, it's Arnold versus Satan. No, I love Arnold. There's a lot of Arnold movies I really will forgive because he's in them. Fucking Eraser is not a very good movie, but he makes it infinitely better. He makes it just infinitely better. Yeah. He's kind of one of those actors where he would kind of like take a movie that would otherwise be complete shit, and just his presence in it improves it just ever so slightly. At various points in his life, that's enough to push that movie over the edge, or it does absolutely nothing at all, and it's just another one of his movies. But do you have a favorite Arnold movie that you want to talk about?
Of course I do. Running Man.
Nice, that's a good one.
Well, obviously because of the puns. My favorite one, of course, whenever he kills one of the people that's, I guess, what do you call them, like the gladiator type dudes, was whenever he kills Sub-Zero, and he's like, was Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero. I mean, you cannot beat that line. It's so good. That line alone is the main reason I like that.
I was going to say, the movie that I think he dramatically improves. Now, it doesn't make it a good movie, but in a way, it makes it a great movie.
Oh.
And I think you know where I'm going with this. Batman and Robin.
Oh, yes.
Him as Mr. Freeze is fucking insane. Puns? You talk about puns. Oh boy. You're going to get puns galore. You're going to get enough puns to make you want to pull your fucking hair out.
Oh, yeah.
Every scene that he is in, everybody chill. What killed the dinosaurs? I love that fucking movie. Oh. I saw that movie in theaters, first off.
Awesome.
And it's one of those movies that, like, once the Batman and Robin kick out and, like, hoverboard from that little... If it's like in the beginning, they like kick out the little particle board of the little thing, the little missile that they're strapped to, or whatever it is, and they're like air surfing downward. Immediately in my like prepubescent mind, I was like, "This is the greatest fucking movie of all time. This is it. How can we get better than this?" Man, I really liked Batman and Robin as a kid. I thought that movie was really fun. It wasn't until I got older that I realized that it was awful. And then even now, I'm like, but it's so much fun. It's so stupid.
It holds a special place.
It's
like, I didn't see it in theaters, but I caught it later on. And, it's so good. And it was one of those movies
terrible.
I did watch a bunch.
Yes, I've seen it so many times. It's almost memorized. It's the one I've seen more than any of the other Batman movies. Christopher Nolan, all the. I still haven't even seen the most recent Batman movies, but
Oh yeah.
I've seen that one a lot. And the only one that comes close is the fucking Zack Snyder Batman versus Superman movie. That one is also pretty fucking bad, but for different reasons. And it doesn't have Mr. Freeze to come along and save it, unfortunately.
Yeah, see?
If it did, it would be a completely different movie.
Oh,
Completely different movie. So Arnold is here, obviously in the first one, showing up here as the same character, but in a completely different way, which is one of the first times we would ever see that kind of twist in a movie, which is really interesting that they did that he's back, but not as the villain. So it's very kind of weird that as a kid watching it for the first time, because I saw this movie. This is one of those R-rated movies that my dad let me watch because he was like, he's a boy's dad. He's like, I got to have my kid see this. So I saw the first Terminator, and I was just told to close my eyes certain times, right?
Yeah.
So I was fucking terrified of Terminator. He's terrified. And then I watched the second one, and he's all lovey-buddy with the kid, and it like throws you off for a minute because you're like, wait, just tried to fucking kill that kid. Speaking of the kid, Edward Furlong, this was kind of like his big thing, and a lot was expected of him, and unfortunately not a lot came of that. He's been in some things, obviously.
2011 was like the last big thing he was in, when he was in Green Hornet for just a minute. He was also in the Night of the Demons remake, which, let's not talk about that. He's in a lot of bad movies, but he's been in some okay stuff outside of this. American History X, obviously, the Grass Harp, sorry. He's also in a bunch of music videos, as well as Brain Scan. That's a good one. But he was also in these like Japanese hot noodle commercials for a little while, as well as Pet Sematary 2. So a wide variety of stuff Edward Furlong was in.
In some things, like he was in one of those Crow movies that was pretty bad.
I never saw that.
Yeah, it's not very good.
I've only seen the first one, and I can't bring myself to watch any others.
Yeah. This is pretty much it. This is kind of like the big Edward Furlong movie.
American History X was another big one for him.
That's the other one I was going to say. It's either this one or American History X when he got older.
Yeah,
which is the other one. Like, you kind of immediately think of those two movies as being like his big movies.
That's basically it.
And like what was going to become of him, and it never really happened.
The only other one I can think of, well, maybe two, that really stick out to me was Detroit Rock City, where you kind of start to see that.
I forgot he was in that.
Oh yeah, I love that movie though.
Yeah,
I went through a real
forgot
big
he was in
Kiss
that
phase in my like late teens. So
yeah, that makes sense.
And for me that makes sense. And then there was that movie Pecker. That was I don't know if I saw that all the way through.
I forgot he was in that as well. That's a John Waters movie.
Yeah.
Edward Furlong had a pretty decent career. I should take that back. He's been in a lot of stuff. I mean, for like
a lot of good stuff.
For a child actor, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
He's been in some decent stuff. So take back, revise that sentence.
Well,
thank you for your work, Edward.
More like what I say, what happened to him is more like, oh God, why does he look like that now? And that's not cool to say, but
I think I was thinking more of like, when I think of Edward Furlong, you think of him like, well, he was in so many big movies that he could have been like the next Leonardo DiCaprio or Keanu Reeves, and it just kind of his career never kind of went that way.
Especially in this movie, he has like a Leo vibe, like young Leo, like when you watch a movie like. Well, I don't know. I was going to say like Basketball Diaries, but I think Leo goes a bit above on that one.
Yeah. That and several of his early work when he was a kid. What's Eating Gilbert Grape
or whatever.
Boys, he does. He kind of goes very dramatic in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
He kind of set up, his career he kind of had a lot of. He kind of was setting you up for what he was going to do later in life, very early on.
But yeah, Edward Furlong. Yeah, definitely. A part of my, childhood watching movies.
Yeah. Playing his mother and was obviously in the first one is Linda Hamilton, who
a jacked Linda Hamilton.
Yes, who only came back into this movie under certain conditions. So there was a lot of things that she specifically wanted with her character. And she actually, I mean, like, I don't want to say she kind of wrote her character, but she had a lot to do with the creation of her character. She was obviously in a relationship with James Cameron at different points in time. So, yeah, she kind of had a lot to do with how her character was being crafted. And she kind of is the reason behind the arc that Sarah Connor goes through in this movie, where she kind of goes through this, going from the first film where she's like this
no
hunted,
more damsel in distress.
yeah, I was gonna say she's no longer this hunted character. She now is the hunter. She basically has become this emotionless Terminator who's just, I don't care. I need to kill whatever this is to stop what's going to happen. Like, I know what's going to happen. We need to stop it. And whatever's in my way needs to die to stop that from happening, just like Arnold was in the first one. So their characters kind of flop here. And now Arnold is kind of taking care of well, you know, Dorothy, so to speak, which is a reference we'll get into later. So, Linda Hamilton obviously was in the first Terminator. She was in Children of Corn, which is a good movie there. Yeah. Dante's Peak, which is a fun one. She was in the Bermuda Tentacles, which is a movie our friend Dominic reviewed, which is not a very good movie from what I remember them talking about.
Really? Bermuda Tentacles isn't good?
No, it's a surprise, right? She was in the TV show Chuck that had a big run there. And speaking of TV shows, she was in a TV show that I really, really liked, and I really enjoyed the MMORPG, and that was a show called Defiance. That show was a lot of fun. It didn't really live up to its promise, but it had an MMORPG tie-in that was like connected to the game, and events in the game would connect to the movie or the TV show. It only, I think, made it. I don't even think it made it 2 seasons, but it was a cool idea. And a cool little sci-fi show about like an alien invasion that led to like the apocalypse, kind of an apocalyptic scenario. And now there's these people living on this basically alien-controlled Earth, and they're kind of trying to fight back. And you know, that's what I remember of it. It's been a while since I've seen that. I don't believe it's streaming anywhere. Could be wrong about that, but yeah, she shows up in that for a little while too. Pretty cool.
Yeah, she more recently she's been in Resident Alien. I don't know if you've watched any of that. I have.
Yeah, that's pretty good too. I was going to say she's been in a lot of TV shows recently.
Yeah,
lots of
good
TV.
To see her, so I like seeing her. You know?
Yeah, she's always good in everything she's in, pretty much. Next up is Robert Patrick, who once again this was kind of his peak of his career in a way. This is the movie that kind of made him. Before this, actually, I was listening to an interview with him. And he's basically living out of his car, doing drugs and not doing very well. And this movie kind of served as the catalyst. I want to say it served as the catalyst for him to get sober and clean, but it actually served as the catalyst for him to basically elevate his position in life and afford to do better drugs. So it kind of didn't really put him in the best position afterwards, he says, but he was able to get clean and is in a better place now. But yeah, Robert Patrick, this was kind of the one of the launching point of his career, so to speak.
Yeah, and it gets referenced constantly.
The boy has made himself some good money off of this character. He shows up in Wayne's World. He gets referenced in Robot Chicken. He gets just references galore. Saturday Night Live for like the last 20 years.
That first Marine movie. I guess they're being chased by, I don't remember who plays the Marine in that movie. One of the wrestler people, but he's like they're running away from him, driving away from him, and he's like a Terminator or whatever. And you see Robert Patrick look in the rearview mirror. It's like, okay. All right.
Next up is Joe Morton, who actually he plays the computer programmer who they eventually kind of home invade and use. Now, he was actually originally, this role was offered to Denzel Washington. But Denzel Washington turned it down and actually criticized the writing of it and said all he does is shiver and gets scared. That's not a good character. I'm not interested in playing this role. Thank you. So Denzel Washington did not show up in this movie, but he was offered a role and turned it down. Joe Morton snapped at the chance though, and Joe Morton would also show up in Lone Star, Speed. He was an apt pupil. There's a good show. Been in a bunch of Broadway and a bunch of TV shows. Scandal. I guess most recently he was kind of mostly known for a movie we actually just talked about, Batman versus Superman, and the Justice League movie. He is the guy that creates Cyborg. So Cyborg's
that's
dad, kind of a
Yeah.
whole thing there. Yeah. He is in those movies as well. So shows up there once again. And
Mhm.
the last character that we'll talk about is actually a guy whose complete scenes were cut, and they only show up in the director's cut, and that is Michael Biehn, who was obviously John Connor in the first movie,
Right.
and was supposed to be in this movie, and does show up in a dream sequence, but
Yeah.
all of those scenes were cut in the theatrical version, and the only time we see them is in the director's cut. So, if you're not watching the director's cut, you won't see Michael Biehn at all. But if you watch it, you'll see him show up. And he's obviously been, like I said, in Terminator 1, was in Aliens, The Abyss. So for a while, he was kind of a James Cameron's go-to guy, right? He just was in every James Cameron movie. Like I said, Terminator 1, Aliens, The Abyss, and Terminator 2. So almost all of James Cameron's early work features Michael Biehn. He was also in Navy SEALs, Tombstone, The Rock, Omega Code 2. That's a fun one. Clock Stoppers, Grindhouse, Sushi Girl. Did one of the voices in Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, the little like kind of 80s throwback they did, where he plays Rex in Tombstone. Johnny Ringo does that one. I love that movie, and it is one of Val Kilmer's best movies, and it has been in the news a lot recently with the passing of Mr. Kilmer there. So there's our cast, our writer, and our director. Let's get into the background a little bit that we haven't already talked about. So this movie goes back all the way to right after the first one came out, because our boy Arnie, he wanted a sequel, and he wanted it now, goddammit.
Oh.
Yes, that did not happen, obviously, much to Arnie's chagrin. Instead, James Cameron would do The Abyss, and he would do Aliens instead. So this also would lead to a lawsuit, not between Arnie and James Cameron, but a lawsuit as to who the hell owned the rights of the first Terminator movie, because the way it was distributed, it was so low budget, so independently produced, that the distributor actually went out of business. And so the whole who owned the rights to the movie were kind of held up in court for a little while there. So that kind of added to the gap between when the first and second one came out. So that was one of the problems there. Now, how was Arnie paid for this movie, you might ask? Well, this comes up because of recent political news, but he was given a $14 million jet.
Oh.
There you go. That was Arnie's paycheck for saying yes to do this movie. It was a $14 million private jet that he could use, and I believe he, I don't know if he still has it or not. He might, for all I know. Who might? He might.
I mean,
this movie was an expensive movie just to get the rights to make Terminator 2. So after they eventually settled on who owned the rights, well, now that whoever wants to make the second one has to buy the rights. And so James Cameron and Arnie were able to convince another distributor, another producer, to buy it, and that cost $17 million. So you're $17 million in the hole just to get the name. That's it.
dang.
So you just have the name and you're $17 million in.
Sheesh.
Now, Arnie's payment was a $14 million jet. James Cameron's payment was a $6 million directing fee.
Oh.
So $6 million. And he almost directed Fisher King instead. So this, if he had not directed this, he would have worked with Robin Williams to make Fisher King, which is also a really, really good movie. If you have never seen that one.
I don't think I've seen it all the way through.
It's a good. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's been a while since I've seen it. I definitely haven't seen it as much as Terminator 2. So, when you're going for longevity streak, there you go. So it took about 6 to 7 weeks to write the movie, and the movie is, if you obviously you've seen it if you're watching this, but if you haven't seen it in a while, go back and watch it, and then maybe put on a classic movie that your grandmother probably used to talk to you about. It's called The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And just think for a minute about how both of these movies are plotted, because they're almost the same movie. This movie is kind of like a Wizard of Oz set in a horrible universe of violence. And Dorothy is a child who needs to be protected by the Tin Man with a fucking shotgun, because the flying monkeys are not flying monkeys. They are running, morphing blobs of violent goo that want to kill Dorothy at all times. And yeah, the other people that are along the way might be going through a little bit of PTSD. But
Hmm.
along the way, they're going to go find the wizard and they're going to pay him a visit and then blow the fuck out of the wizard's house. And there you go. So, I mean, if you think about it, the movie kind of sets up, and that's exactly kind of what they were going for. So, in a way, it is very, very similar to Wizard of Oz, which, if you think about it and how long they took to write the movie, kind of makes sense that it would have a very kind of basic plot structure
Well, right.
because that's what they had time to work in, right? You got
Yeah.
6 weeks, you got a month and 2 days to write a whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah.
work to do.
That's a lot of work.
And they would actually cut a lot of things out. So they had other subplots involved, like a time travel subplot. They had more things involving Dyson, the Denzel Washington character that we just talked about, Joe Morgan
Yeah.
character. They had a whole other thing involving him and what he was doing and his kind of work behind the scenes to sabotage this stuff and all these different things. All of that was cut. All of that was cut for either time or because of budget. They knew that they were already this much money in the hole.
Yeah.
Like we gotta cut some corners here and there to save some time and money, and so they would, and they did in the writing phase. Yeah,
Dang.
and actually, the T-1000, Robert Patrick's character, is actually based on a James Cameron was apparently very high and just kept listening to this 1985 Sting song over and over and over again. And that was his inspiration for writing the Robert Patrick character, was getting high as shit and listening to Sting and I presume old Police records.
Yeah.
So the script as it was coming together was not to everyone's liking. Arnie actually hated the script. He did not like that he was now playing the good guy. He thought the audience would be confused. He didn't like how the character's change happened. And he was just not happy with it. But at the end of the day, he accepted that he would do it, just hoped that they would make him look cool. That was basically his only request, is make me look cool. Like, just whatever you do, just make me look cool. So
And
that's
was
what, I mean,
leather pants.
they do a pretty good job making him look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So we mentioned...
it's crazy he didn't like that. Well, and that would be more for when we get into the plot of the movie, but I really liked his performance.
Yeah, he does great, but yeah, he had a lot of hard time with how the character was supposed to react to certain situations,
I guess
given what he did in the first movie. If you go back and look at Terminator 1, like, it fits a lot of the early Arnold movies where it's mostly him reacting to things and his body and the physicality, as opposed to him actually acting or emoting much. He hardly ever talks, right? It's not until he starts doing more of his comedic roles, when they started breaking him out of his shell and letting him talk a bit more, that we actually hear that. And this came out after he had done some of those. So he kind of started introducing talking more as something he did in a lot of his movies.
Yeah. Which
So he does that here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always thought Arnie was a pretty good, decent actor. He's not going to win an Oscar. I'm not going to give him an Oscar or anything like that. But he's always good, and he's very serviceable in the things that he's in. He knows what he's good at, and he does what he's good at.
Yeah.
He's good at it.
He's very he's a charming dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's very much unlike Will Smith in a way. Like, if he's like Will Smith, if Will Smith only did the movies he knew he was good at. If Will Smith never took chances and just continued to do Men in Black style 90s sci-fi movies, Wild Wild West over and over and over again, then that would be very much like Arnie. He does a lot of what he knows he's good at.
Yeah.
Don't see him doing a lot of weird dramatic roles or anything like that. He's very consistent with his choices. And I think it pays off for him because his audience is his audience. The people like his movies.
Yep.
I'm one of them.
100%.
I like a lot of Arnie movies.
I was about to say we're them.
Speaking of other things I like, Robert Patrick and Linda Hamilton, we talked about both of them. They both got fucking jacked for this movie, and they both trained like maniacs for this movie. Linda Hamilton's sister was actually the stunt double for this movie, and she had to get more jacked because her sister was getting more jacked, and she had to keep up with it as she had to do the stunt double. So,
if my brother did that, well, not that me and my brother could, because we look very different, like completely, but because we're half brothers, so he's 6 years older than me, and he is about, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches shorter than me. So we wouldn't be able to do it. But if he got super jacked and I had to play his stunt double, and then I had to get super jacked, I'd be pissed. Like,
And you'd be like, fucking dick.
yeah, I'd be like, this is a real dick move, man.
So speaking more about Robert Patrick's character, the T-1000, Robert Patrick was actually not the original casting choice. The original casting choices were two guys. Both of them are musicians, and both of them are bizarre choices that you would probably never expect. So number one is Billy Idol.
Oh.
Yep. And the other choice was Blackie Lawless from the heavy metal band Wasp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those were the two choices that they originally went into the film thinking we're going to go with.
Interesting idea.
Yeah, originally he was going to be like a long-haired punk kind of dude. Because so this was supposed to be way more of a hair metal movie. So originally the idea was that he comes back, he takes the form of the first person he kills, which was going to be like a hair metal guy. And now you got this hair metal punk dude chasing after Arnie, and it was going to, be kind of like a cult, that was going to be the whole thing, right? That obviously didn't happen, as they decided that a better thing to do would be to do the police officer, because that would be less, people would be more willing to let a police officer in their house or stop for this, stuff like that. They're not stopping for fucking Blackie Lawless coming from Wasp. He's going to fuck you like a beast after all, Can't stop for that.
Well, and also if James Cameron was listening to a lot of the Police, there's a connection.
Yeah, right, exactly. So speaking about more about James Cameron, the man was kind of known as being a little bit of a tyrant, a little bit of an asshole, and he doubled down on that reputation in this movie, as he would do a lot of things that would really come to the annoyance of a lot of his cast, as he filmed things out of order. He would rewrite things. He would sometimes film things that needed the practical effects first, and then film the more dialogue-heavy scenes later. But then that would make it to where Arnie was very confused about how he was supposed to react at times, because it's like, well, how far along in the script are we? Are me and the kid friends? Do we barely know each other, right? So this was kind of adding to Arnold's frustration with this whole thing here. And so on top of that, he was also known to film scenes over and over and over and over and over again.
Oh.
Sometimes 30, 40, 50 times over countlessly. And would oftentimes, if people were unwilling to film certain stunt shots, he would take the camera and film it himself, putting kind of himself and the insurance of the production at risk, which kind of caused some people some headaches there.
Yeah.
So kind of behind the scenes, not known as being the best, nicest dude. But he would film 5 days a week and then would edit all weekend just to speed up the production of the film, because this movie was filmed and written always under a very tight budget. And not so much a budget in terms of money, they had that, but also a budget in terms of time. They had a very short window of time to finish and get this movie done, because it was coming out. They had actually started advertising it before they'd even started fucking filming it.
Oh my God.
So yeah, before it was even done, they were already doing stuff. In fact, they filmed a teaser trailer filmed by a completely different guy, which sets up how Arnie comes back, as they filmed another scene, which was basically all of the Terminators are Arnie's. That's how they're created.
Yeah.
Was kind of how they set it up. Yeah. So that was supposed to be like a little teaser trailer to kind of get you caught up on like what happened between the first and second Terminator, for those people that were a little bit lost and stuff like that. But they knew that going into it, they had to do this, and they had to do it very fast and very efficient, because they knew that they had to do a lot of visual effects. So not only do we have Cameron's film making budget, the $6 million we owe him, we got $14 million for Arnie, we got $17 million for the rights. We got to also add in visual effects, which is another $15 to $17 million on top of that. And with the visual effects, there was no backup plan. So if the T-1000 looked like shit, that was it.
Oh, man.
If it ended up looking like fucking prehistoric, well, that's what we got. Like, so they had no backup plan at all. And just to do the T-1000, it took, to do 15 seconds of it, so let's say that number, it would take 35 people 10 days to do 15 seconds of the visual effects. So yeah, they had to get all of this done before
they could even start to doing the visual effects. So yeah, the movie was filmed under very intense pressure. And
Yeah.
I think this kind of adds to one of the reasons why you don't see Cameron and Arnie working together ever again after this. They were, I think that I think Arnie was done with him. He was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good. I've firmly established that I'm a star now, and I don't need to deal with that bullshit anymore. Someone else can have fun with that. So, movie went tremendously over budget. It ended up costing somewhere between $94 and $102 million. It was supposed to cost $60 to $75 million. James Cameron said they spent $51 million on just filming it. So just on securing the locations, the stunts, the actors, catering, all that was $51 million.
Yeah.
Not adding on to the advertising, all of the budget, the act, like all of so. Movie was a tremendously expensive movie.
Yeah.
Tremendously expensive movie. Yeah. Now, it ended up paying off because it made $204 million in the United States.
Yeah.
And would go on to make $321 million overseas. And it was the first American movie ever to do that. It was the first American movie to ever make $300 million overseas.
Oh, wow.
So not only did it make more overseas than it did in America, but it became the very, very first film to cross that $300 million threshold and basically cemented Arnie as a star and helped cement James Cameron as a certified big deal. And same thing with Edward Furlong. His career shot up after this. Linda Hamilton's career kind of got bigger after this. Robert Patrick's career took off after this. So it took off in a big way and took off in other ways too. We had a comic book made out in 1991 by Marvel. I never read the comic book.
No, never.
There were a bunch of toys. I had one of the toys. I had a big giant Arnie that his eyes shot up red, and it used to scare the fuck out of me because sometimes it would come on in the middle of the night and just terrify me. Yeah.
Oh, man.
There were puzzles for kids. There were trading cards. There were puppets. I've never seen a Terminator puppet.
No.
I need to see that.
Yeah, I need to see it.
There was a T-shirt, a bunch of T-shirts.
I think I actually had an action figure, like an Arnie action figure.
Yeah, I was going to say they were everywhere.
I swear I did.
There was perfume even, which is a weird one.
Oh, ooh.
Several types of video games made. A pinball game, an arcade game.
Oh.
There was a computer game. One for the Super Nintendo, one for the Nintendo, one for the Sega. There was also a live-action attraction in Florida, which has its own separate little thing they filmed for it, which has like complete other scenes that were filmed during this filming of this movie, but for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Let's add that on to everything else you got to do, James.
Yeah, right. I remember there was this shooter game that would be in arcades, and I would go.
Oh yeah, that game was fun as fuck.
Yeah,
that was the arcade
like
game. That game
like a
was fun
time
as fuck.
crisis kind of game, or something like that.
Yeah,
it
was
awesome.
beautiful. So they would put it out on. Movie would come out on DVD and home video and make even more money.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, fun enough, if you have the DVD copy, you can actually unlock a Easter egg. So if you go to where it says sensory control and you press right 5 times in a row, then you'll unlock the special edition of the film. Just kind of fun thing you used to be able to do with all those things, which I think is cool. And
bring DVDs back.
Another fun fact here before we take a break and talk about the plot is if you break it down by word, Arnie made $21,000 per word.
Ooh.
$21,000 per word.
I could live with something like that being given,
Yeah, right. That's not too bad of a life, right?
Right.
And the other last interesting thing before we get to Travis trivia here is they would re-release this movie in 2017 in 3D, and it only made $560,000 across the entire United States, which is insane to me. They re-released it. I didn't know they re-released it in 3D either. And not only did I not know they re-released it in 3D, I don't know if anyone did because it only made less than $1 million.
I was about to say.
I don't know if too many people knew it happened. But yes, apparently in 2017 during our 3D phase, they threw that out there.
I don't know if this movie
we have reached
really
our
lends
phase.
itself to 3D.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know if this is going to lend itself to 3D so much, but we are moving on to the Travis trivia phase, coming at you in 3D, D,
Yeah.
D, D, D. Anyway, top 5 songs in the country when this movie came out here in America. This is quite an eclectic list here. Oh, man.
Yeah?
A lot of different stuff. Number 5, number 4, number 3, number 2, number 1. All interesting ones here. So
Ooh.
let's start with number 5. I can't really give you too many hints of. I know the group. I know them very well, but I don't really listen to them enough to know any hints to give you about their songs. You probably listen to them more than I do. I associate them most with like 90s fitness centers that my mom used to take me to and make me sit in the corner while she did jazzercise.
Okay.
That is Rhythm Syndicate.
Oh.
And the song is Passion.
Maybe I know this? I might not know this.
Number 4 is a soft rock icon. This is a classic love song. It's played at a bunch of weddings by lame people. I'm trying to think of any other hints I could give you. Any 90s classic love song, early 90s.
Early 90s classic love song, I guess. This is probably wrong, but I'm going to say, like, I don't know, Michael Bolton? That sounds wrong.
You're not too far off. So the artist is Bryan Adams.
Adams.
Any ideas of Bryan Adams songs?
Oh, God. I'm stuck on Summer of 69. There's no way that's it. Is that other one? And
Everything
can't
I
think of
do,
it.
I do for you.
That's right.
Every
That's
little
right.
thing I do for you.
People play that at their weddings? Sorry.
I don't. Lame people do.
Yeah.
Number three, a fun little group here. Not really alternative, but like kind of alternative, kind of dancey, kind of poppy. The name, I can't really give you any more hints than that. I don't think you're going to get it. I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah.
Jesus Jones. You familiar with them at all? What's their big Jesus Jones songs? Do you know?
Oh, man. I know I've heard Jesus Jones, and I know there's one song that sticks out.
This is the one
Lord
song.
help me. Yeah, I was going to say, I know it's...
Right Here, Right Now.
Right Now, that's right.
Yeah, that's
Is that
it.
the name of the song?
That's the name of the song.
Okay,
Right Here, Right Now. Yeah.
See, I thought I would get that wrong.
It's going to say it literally is the title of it.
That's
all right, number 2, a former host of American Idol.
Yeah. God. It's right there. Paula Abdul?
Yeah, Paula Abdul.
Yeah.
The name of the song was Rush Rush.
I think I know that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
And the number 1 song in the country was a song, maybe the only song to sample Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, that's throwing me off. Oh, hey, you're unbelievable.
Yeah, EMF, you're unbelievable. That was the number 1 song in the country when this movie came out. That was the number 1 song, yes. That was what the kids were listening to. So you can imagine whenever Arnie breaks into the arcade to find John Connor and his friends, what they're listening to was unbelievable. Holy Mother of God, we have found ourselves at the break point. Thank y'all for staying tuned, and thank you for coming back week after week as we continue to talk about the end of the motherfucking world and how we feel about things. And next week we will continue to do that as we prepare for a fun little event that's coming up, because soon the next installment of a post-apocalyptic trilogy is coming. And that is 28 years later. So, in celebration of that, we are going to start next week by watching 28 Days Later. Which,
nice.
Not the Sandra Bullock rehab movie. Instead, the director of Trainspotting's post-apocalyptic zombie movie on steroids, where everyone is a fucking Olympic sprinter, and the Rush virus will make you do some horrible things. horrible things. So hopefully you guys come back next week as we talk about that movie, because it is an amazing movie.
Yes.
And truly one of the best movies of all time, regardless of genre. So we'll talk about that next week. Stay tuned. Thanks.
Yep.
And we are back again, and alive to talk about the plot of Terminator 2. Are you ready to do this thing?
Oh, I can't be reasoned with. You can't stop me.
Okay, I like it. So one thing that we're going to discuss throughout this movie is James Cameron loves the color blue and orange. He uses them a lot throughout the course of this movie, and they're both supposed to be symbolic. The color blue is supposed to symbolize machines, so it's kind of associated with the Terminators and all of that nonsense. And then orange is supposed to symbolize humanity. What a change in association that color has undergone in the last 30 years. How things change.
Well, I was thinking like how Michael Bay ran with those colors in almost every movie of his is just blue and orange.
He does do that. There's like a direct connection between like Michael Bay and James Cameron.
Yeah.
Where Michael Bay is just a shittier version of James Cameron, like in almost every way. Like there's very little, except for obviously Pain and Gain.
I was about to say.
And Bad Boys.
And the first Bad Boys, yeah.
And the first Bad Boys. Another good one. So let's get into the plot of Terminator. We start with children. And they're doing their little thing, and then we fade to blue. Oh, there's that color. There you go. And this is where we start to see the war with the machines, and kind of playing off of a little bit of the first one. Although the scale up and ability and graphics from the first to the second is quite noticeable.
Oh,
right. You can immediately tell, like, oh yeah, he learned how to make a movie now. It's a lot better. Not that the first Terminator is bad, but I think the first Terminator is like a wonderful exercise in like independent filmmaking that people oftentimes forget about, because how much of that movie is just like kind of made like an independent movie was almost.
Yeah.
But with like these big ideas in mind of what he wanted to take it in, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I love the first Terminator. This one, a lot of the same thing, a lot of that same spirit, but with a much bigger budget.
Oh yeah.
So
and they do. I think they work well with the budget too. By the way.
Oh yeah, they utilize every bit of money is well spent in this movie, right? Like you can see everything. So this big battle with the machines, and we meet John Connor in the future, who of course would look nothing like the next time we would meet John Connor, because of course they had to make a third one, and eventually we will talk about all the Terminator movies, and we'll probably revisit this one again. Might as well. I mean, hell, if we're still doing the show in 2029, shit. Might as well just do a whole year about it. August, it'll become the month of Terminator, right?
Oh.
But in spite of all of that, they had to kind of revisit the well. And every subsequent time we see John Connor, he looks nothing like this version.
No.
Maybe Christian Bale, when he played him, looks a little bit kind of like this.
Yeah.
Like a poor man's Christian Bale. But anyway, besides the point, he's barely in the movie at all.
Good for you.
Good for you. He's barely in this movie at all, the older John Connor. There just to kind of look ominously at the landscape of war.
With
the
a massive scar on his face.
The massive scar. It's a fucking Megadeth song, like, just playing itself out somewhere. Anyway, so as Dave Mustaine is shift riffing down the V-neck, we kind of get to learn more and more about what actually happened since the first movie, basically filling in anyone that couldn't be bothered to watch the first one. So maybe you didn't see the first Terminator, you got caught up in the hype, you're going to go see Terminator 2, right? This kind of fills you in pretty much right away on what you missed. You don't really need... obviously watching the first movie gives you a lot more context, and you get a lot of the little jokes and, like, I guess not jokes, but little references that are made throughout the course of this one.
Yeah.
But you don't need to have watched the first one to appreciate this movie at all.
No, I saw this one first when I was a kid, so...
We then go to the actual start of the movie, which starts in a truck yard. And rather than seeing an 18-wheeler a guy behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler getting sucked off by a lot lizard... Instead, we see a naked Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is good, different than a naked lot lizard, but in a way, similar in a lot of ways.
I was about to say.
Both just trying to make it in America, the old-fashioned way. Nude and willing to do something crazy for a few bucks. So he makes his way to...
We've all been there.
Haven't we? I'm that way right now.
I was about to say.
So he makes his way to the nearest bar and immediately identifies his first victim, which this time is not Bill Pullman or Bill Paxton.
Oh, yeah, that's not Bill Paxton, yeah.
Not this time, no.
No. This time, he goes into this biker bar completely
playing
naked.
Dwight Yoakam.
Dwight Yoakam? Oh,
yeah,
I love
guitars
that.
and Cadillacs.
Hillbilly music.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, I love me some Dwight Yoakam.
I am such a Dwight Yoakam fan.
And then he promptly gets into a bar fight, as you do when you're listening to Dwight Yoakam.
As you do.
You got to beat someone's ass. And he beats the shit out of him and takes his shit. It's one of the best fight scenes. It's like a memorable fight scene as Arnie just kind of beats everyone's ass completely nude.
Well, especially
And-
when he throws that guy into the kitchen and he lands on the stove. Yeah, iconic.
Oh yeah, give me your boots, give me your jacket, and your motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he beats their asses and leaves out the building with bad to the bone. And immediately, within the first few minutes of this movie, with the Dwight Yoakam and then the bad to the bone, you get like the way James Cameron uses music is so cool.
Yeah.
He doesn't go as far as like Scorsese does it, where he like incorporates like big songs into like in a couple of weeks when we talk about The Departed, in the way Scorsese uses the Dropkick Murphys in that, where he like literally just like it's buried into conversation sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't quite get that here, but close. And
it's pretty close.
I love the way that the music is like commenting on what's going on in the movie. Which is a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
I like scores that do that are like very connected to what you're seeing.
I'm trying to remember if this was my... Oh, it does. And I'm trying to remember if this was my intro to Bad to the Bone or if it was that movie Problem Child. I don't know if you remember that one.
Oh, shit. It's probably, for me, it was definitely Problem Child.
I think it was Problem Child. And then I saw it in this and I was like, oh, very different context.
Yes, you're right. So this sets up Arnie, our first person on our journey of the Yellow Brick Road. And soon we're going to meet our next character on the Yellow Brick Road, the Wicked Witch herself, the bitch who just won't die. In this case, played by Robert Patrick. That's a different person. Playing the T-1000 here, and he's kind of his nemesis that's going to show up and persist throughout the course of the movie, and kind of follow them around, terrorizing them.
Yeah,
not unlike the Wicked Witch.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, when you told me that, it blew my mind, and I loved it because Wizard of Oz is one of my favorite movies of all time. So
yeah. This is just Wizard of Oz with either more or less violence, depending on how you view it.
Really. Now, I was going to say this. I like that it still plays off of our expectations from the first movie.
Yeah.
Where, in the first movie, of course, it plays out very similar. He is, basically accosting someone for, clothing to look human, I guess, to pass.
Yeah.
And he does it in a very violent way. And so same. And then we get the he kind of has a similar Michael Bain look,
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, at least at first, but he's a lot more clean cut and slick, but we also don't really see him. The only thing we see is, basically the cop. And then he comes up behind him and he just takes him out.
Whoop, that's the sound of the police.
Yes, exactly. And so it kind of plays out similar, to Kyle Reese.
There's a lot of parallels. Yeah. Up until he meets John, and him and John kind of bond. He's A-okay with killing people. Like, he has no problem with that at all. He'll shoot anybody that gets in his way. It's not a problem.
Oh, yeah.
It's not until John and him kind of humanize each other that he's kind of finds that ability to not kill things so rampantly.
But yeah, so it plays with our expectation because we already know he's the Terminator. He's the one that needs to be worried about. But then he, turns out that's not the case. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think they handle that very well.
It's hard to, I was going to say, we would have to watch this movie from fresh eyes because at the beginning of it, if you've never seen it before, you don't really know who the villain is. You just have these two characters that are coming back, and we know from the prologue, we know that one of them was sent back by the human resistance, and one of them was sent back by the
Skynet.
By Skynet, yes, thank you.
Yeah,
I was about to say artificial intelligence, but I guess same thing either way. But
it is.
So that kind of is interesting. But yeah, now that you've seen it so many times, you know who the bad guy is, who the good guy is.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'd have to show this movie to somebody who's never seen it before and be like, pause this and be like, okay, now who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy between these two? Because your idea of police means good guy would go towards that, which I think is what he's playing off of, is that you assume the police are the good people, a good character, and then he turns out to be the exact opposite of that, which in 2025 is really funny.
I was about to say, that's going to be a tough turnaround on that one.
Yeah. So, after meeting both
that
of
might be an interesting thing to do for like a classroom or something.
That would be fun, yeah. After meeting both of our Terminators, now we meet
Yep.
John. We catch up with what he's been up to since the last movie,
Yep.
as he was basically from the future and now in his
Yep.
past self. And of course, he is. We're told that he's been adopted and that he's living in California. And this seems like everyone's after him to go and figure out what he's doing and what he's after. Well, he just wants to fucking play some Guns N' Roses and go steal some money from the ATM so he can play some fucking video games.
Yeah, that's what else are you gonna do?
Yes,
and I will
right.
say this is still probably one of my favorite Guns N' Roses songs.
Oh yeah, it's a great Guns N' Roses song.
Oh, it is so good. But him. I mean, you just kind of see him as he's kind of a troubled youth, Like,
He's a troubled youth.
passed around the system,
Yes, he has been
Some
passed
real-
around the system.
I'm shocked how deadbeat these parents kind of seem. These
Yeah, they
foster
don't seem
parents.
to be the best, and I like that he's able to play off of that later on whenever he calls them, and he's like, "She's never this nice."
That was
And
that
she
was
was
awesome.
immediately like, "Wait a minute, something's up." Like, she's never this kind to me. Like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
she's always yelling at me about things, So why is she being so nice to me now? Yeah. I love how they do that. So we meet him, we meet John, and then we're not done meeting all of our cast, but we're almost done.
Yeah.
We're about to get all of the characters on the Yellow Brick Road soon enough. We get good old Linda Hamilton, who is recovering from the events of the first movie, so to speak, and is now institutionalized and is working out like a madman, and has a woman with a lot of plans for revenge, and is going through a lot of trauma. Like pretty much every time we see her, she is going through something horrific.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, right. Like it's always she's either getting abused, she's being force-filled pills, getting shot at, getting stabbed at, having horrific dreams, all kinds of shit.
Oh man, I mean, because at this point she's the only person alive that knows, like
right.
she's seen it. Now John has been told, but he didn't see it. He wasn't born yet, so. He didn't see a metal robot attacking in that factory,
Yeah.
So she's,
Did you get the director's cut version? Because soon after this is where Michael Biehn shows up.
Oh,
in
I
the
didn't.
dream. Okay, so if you watch the director's cut version, she has a dream, which is kind of completely unnecessary. It basically is just Michael Biehn shows up and tells her, like, you gotta go save John. John's gonna get hurt. What are you doing? Get out of here. Go. But then she has the dream where shortly, like literally right after that, which is in the movie, where she has the dream where she's the first of her dreams, where she's standing outside the gate and she sees the kids playing and she sees them all destroyed. Yeah. So it kind of like blends right into that dream. Like he and her hug and then he disappears and she gets up and wanders outside and then she has the other dream. So I can see why they cut it. But yeah, that's one of the scenes that's added on that if you watch the director's cut, which I apparently did, then you will see some of the differences. It's a little bit longer with some slightly changed things. That being one of them. You also get a few more scenes with Dyson. Like we get a little bit more about like why he is developing this thing that he's working on. A little bit more with him at work. A little bit more with him and his family. Just stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Well,
nothing that really like fundamentally changes the movie, other than this Michael Biehn scene. Just because otherwise he's completely not in the movie at all.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, he's not in the movie other than this little cameo here.
Huh.
Which is kind of sucks because I mean Johnny fucking Ringo.
Johnny Ringo.
We don't got room for fucking Johnny. But I guess
I'll be
it
his
makes sense.
Huckleberry.
Yeah. I guess you couldn't have like Michael Biehn as himself in the future in the beginning because that wouldn't make sense canonically, like with how they're setting up the timelines. But I honestly just wish Michael Biehn could have found somewhere in this movie because it would have been dope.
Yeah,
that would have been cool. So anyway, this is where we kind of get, and like I said, the dream sequence and everything's going on. Everyone is after Dorothy. I mean, John Connor, and he just wants to play games. And this is where we see John has maybe the best friend any friend ever.
Absolutely.
As his friend is, they're playing games, and after they've stolen money from the ATM together. They're at the mall and they're playing games, and then the police come in looking for John, and he shows them the photo, and he's like, "Seen this kid? Nope, never seen him."
Nope.
It was like, that is the best friend in the world.
Absolutely.
And he immediately doubles back and goes and tells John, like, "Hey, man, the cops are looking for you. You should get out of here." Saves his friend's life, honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Without him doing that, the movie ends right there.
Exactly. Because why
ends
wouldn't he
right
just
there.
kill him right in the middle of all these kids? He won't care.
Exactly, right? It's just, yeah. I don't think I don't think he really gives a shit, right? He's not interested in stopping or making a good scene for the public, you know?
No.
Just kill the kid. Let's move on with our day.
Yeah, then he's done.
We get, after this is when Arnie shows up to save the day.
Yes.
And we get the first of one of our, like, 3 or 4 really fucking cool chase scenes. Which just keep happening throughout the movie, which there aren't enough chase scenes in movies anymore, man.
I'm going to agree with you on that.
Like, this movie has so many good chase scenes. You get the one on the motorcycle here at the beginning with the fucking 18-wheeler. We get the one at the end with the helicopter. We get the one in the middle where he's running on foot. Like, there's a lot of really good chase scenes.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, because, I mean, I remember, like, while I was watching them, like, it was really tense. Like, that's a good, what's the word I'm looking for? That's great for a movie, you know, to have that tension in there. That's good.
Yes. Well, so the Tin Man and Dorothy have finally reunited, and
it feels so good.
It does feel so good, right? Yeah. And Arnie reveals basically, like, 35 years in the present, John is going to reprogram me and send me back here to protect you. And so, yeah, you did this in the future. They contact his foster parents, finds out his foster parents are dead, and this is where we get the worst part of the movie to me, because the dog gets killed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, does it actually...
In the director's cut, you hear it, and you see the blood from the collar, which apparently the actor, Robert here, was very against, because he's a big animal lover.
Yeah,
and he was just like, I don't think... Now, apparently, in the lore of Terminator, like... If you look at the comic books and you look at all the whole tie it all together, it is explained in the lore that dogs are able to tell the difference between a human and a Terminator. And because of that, dogs are one of the first things that the Terminators go after, because they can tell the difference. Which is why in the first movie, Arnie kills the dog as well. Because once again, the dog is supposed to... Now, this is probably them just retconning and figuring out a way to explain why he kills the dog, other than just like trying to find something horrific for him to do in the movie. But needless to say, they have now explained it that the dogs can tell the difference between the two. And I believe they build on this on like the Sarah Connor Chronicles TV show that they did for a couple seasons, which is not a half bad TV show, honestly.
See, I've never actually watched it.
It's pretty good. It's got the girl from Garbage in it. She's one of the Terminators, and she's like running a corporation. And she's after
Shirley Manson?
Yeah. She's after Sarah Connor, and John Connor's there, and there's like a whole nother Terminator is helping them out. It's a good show. I liked it. I don't know if they ever got to finish it or if it just kind of got canceled, but it was decent for its little run there.
Yeah.
So the plot is starting to unfold as we're kind of getting revealed. Basically, we're getting kind of laid out exactly what needs to happen before them to go forward. Well, John wants to go get his mother.
Yeah, and especially because of what Arnie says when he's like, we can't go there. He's going to go there, kill her, and take her identity.
Yeah,
and
basically
like,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and that just spurs John forward. He's like, no, we're going to go get her now.
Yeah, his reactions are very human, and and Arnie's reactions are very like strategical. Where he's like, he has the T-1000 has all of my impulses as well, all of my knowledge. So if I would have thought to go to your step-parents' house, he's going to think to do that. I would have thought to go to see where your mom's at in the loony bin, so to speak.
Yep.
I also would have done that. So, and then John basically, in a kind of a convoluted way, cries for help and gets this whole big fight. And this is where he learns like not to hurt people, because Arnie's reaction is just pull a gun out and kill these fucking guys. And he's like, no, don't kill. And he's like, what do you want me to do? Like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. You get that very kid. This is where you see kind of like there's a sort of innocence about him, because he's not, he doesn't understand that there's a right and a wrong here. It's just programming. Yes. And so he's like, why?
Yeah, he's like the Tin Man and Toto combined. Like if you strapped a laser cannon to Toto's head in The Wizard of Oz, kind of like that. kind of like that, like a
Which
shark with a fucking laser beam.
I was gonna say, I always thought that would improve. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
Just
if you're going to re-edit Wizard of Oz, let's give Toto a weapon, right? Let's spice it up a little. You're telling me that dog's from the fucking Midwest and he ain't packing? Come on now. That dog's at least got an 45 on him. Anyway, so they decide that they're going to go get Mom, and this is where we cut and see that Mom is being casually sexually assaulted by the people that there.
Before that, she is being questioned because now they've got these pictures of Arnie at that mall, and they're like, you know who this is. You know, because I guess they've linked them together, you know?
Yeah, because in the past, remember in the first one, he shoots down the whole police station.
The whole police station, yeah.
Yeah, and they got a bunch of photos of them there, and they kind of use those as like, you know who this guy is. We've been looking for him since he did this. Now he's back.
And that sets her... I mean, that steals her resolve completely. Yeah. Steel, metal, robots. Anyway. God. But so she's like... She's escaping, and that's just all there is to it. And I gotta say, impressively done. But yeah, she does this creep ass guard, whatever he is, orderly. Ugh.
Yeah, like she basically he like licks her, and she uses that moment to get like a paperclip or something from his lapel that he had.
She has it in her. She grabs it from the desk. Or the table.
The desk, that's it.
Yeah. Yes. And then she has it in her mouth at that time, and she's just acting like nothing so that he'll just leave.
Comatose, so he'll leave.
Yeah, she needs him.
He does his weird lick thing that he does, and then he leaves and twirls on down. She does get a level of revenge against him later.
Oh, it's the most satisfying.
Beats him to death and leaves him tied up inside of the inside of her former cell. So.
Yep. Oh, and it is the most satisfying, probably the most satisfying part of the movie.
Yeah. So John and Arnie, they finally show up to help Sarah out as they... but her reaction to seeing Arnie is priceless, right? She's immediately PTSD. What the fuck is that? It's with my son. Like she didn't even realize that that's her son for a moment. She's just immediately like, that's the thing that tried to kill me, and I can't unsee what I've just seen.
Exactly. So,
but then everyone's reaction to seeing the fucking T-1000 liquid morph through a grate pretty much trumps all that, and they just kind of are like, oh shit, that's the bad guy, let's run.
Like, this guy's not human, but that guy's really not human.
Exactly, right. And then so they work together and they're able to get out, and we get another really cool chase scene.
Yes.
Like I said, this movie is kind of punctuated by them working together, building trust, building bonds, and then the T-1000 comes in and adds a little bit of stakes to the plot, so to speak.
Just like the Wicked Witch.
Just like the Wicked Witch. Is basically, like I said, you can tell a lot of this movie is very, very note for note The Wizard of Oz, which, I mean, honestly, if you're going to take a movie and copy the formula of, not a bad one to go with.
Yeah, for real.
The Wizard of Oz is a timeless classic tale that is so good. And you can use it in so many different ways, and this movie uses it in a lot of different ways. So that's really cool. So
and
now that our
line
group
it up with
is
the
assembled,
dark side of the moon. Oh,
exactly right. So now that the group is finally assembled, we're off to see the Wonderful Wizard of Oz, to ask him a question, which is basically destroy everything that you're trying to build. So they're basically going to go find Dyson. But before that, our Techno Team 2000 is going to have to deal with a lot of personal struggles as Sarah is dealing with the lack of her humanity and how she just kind of wants to kill everything and everyone.
Yes.
And she says many times, you're all already dead, you just don't know it yet.
Yes.
And then John is going through the struggle that only a few of us have ever experienced, myself included, obviously, which is to be told that you're the savior of the human race at such a young age. You have to deal with that. You just have to deal with that. It's a lot. So, Jesus, he took it and disappeared for a few years. John
I was about to say.
buries himself into his best friend, who happens to be a robot. And, of course, when I was told the news, I frantically masturbated and cried in the corner. And then I woke up and realized that was all a dream. And here we are.
Yeah, I know. And I was on the other side of the room. I was like, I don't know what to do right now.
It's a lot like the Blair Witch, but with more masturbation. It's very similar to that. So Anyway,
Lord.
we cut to John and Arnie are making a little pit stop along the way
Yep.
so that they can get some arsenal of weaponry.
Yes.
And, Dyson, meanwhile, is talking to. This is another one of the cutscenes where Dyson is talking to his wife about the progress he's made, and his wife is like, "Oh, think about your family, how much you've given up to do this," and he's realizing that yes, I've spent too much time working on this. I need to put it to the side and focus more on my family. Allegory, right?
Yeah.
As he's dealing with the lack of his humanity in face of his want to progress science forward, right?
Yep.
And this becomes a problem later as they're about to show up to fuck his shit up.
Yes. And this is, we see her take on the Terminator role.
Yes, basically she is stocked up on weaponry that she has in this desert that they kind of have to fix. And then they have a truck that Arnie's working on. And this is where Arnie and John kind of become closer as they're beginning to bond. They're playing games together. And Sarah even remarks at one point that, like, every father he ever had abandoned him or beat him or didn't care about him. And now here's this robot who's the best father figure he could ever have, who would never abandon him, would never lay a finger on him, would never hurt him, with just all these things that she's realizing as she's kind of sitting there watching. And it's really cool. Really, really, really good stuff.
That is really good. Yeah, the voiceover works out really good. Like, because it's still kind of from her point of view, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where she's like, she kind of falls asleep for a moment.
Yeah, she has that horrific dream where now
that still sticks
instead
with
of
me.
it's now the dream is modified because it's no longer just her watching the kids die. Her and John are amongst the kids.
Yes.
And a throwback to her as a younger woman and John as a little baby. And now they get destroyed in the bomb as well as the rest of the city does. But not only that, her as the person sitting there watching is also slowly engulfed in flames until it's just her skeleton. As a child, this part of the movie fucking terrified me.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I remember being a little kid and, like, this part of the movie scared the shit out of me.
Yes.
Because I'd never seen that. I've never seen a person's body, like, burn and then become a skeleton. And I was like, Jesus Christ, the hell did I just see?
Yeah, for real. And I was talking to my dad about that scene because I was telling him, like, this scene always stuck with me. And he's like, imagine what we grew up with. And, like, this is what I saw this all the time when I was growing up. And I was like, yeah, never mind. I get it.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So this is just James Cameron passing it along, you know?
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, right, no shit, yeah. So after the dream, which, you know, the dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had.
Oh,
she
nice.
decides then that she's got to kill Dyson. That motherfucker's got to die.
Yeah,
she's going to do it solo.
She's got that knife and she's carving in the bench there, and it just said, or that table, and it just says, no fate. And that's, you know, this idea of, like, there's no fate but what you make. And that's, you know, John knows, oh, she's going to go kill Dyson. Like, he gets it.
And so she goes on her own, and this pisses off John and Arnie go after her. And even while they're going after her, John is like Arnie's telling John, she might be right. Like, if she kills him, it might solve all the problems we have. Mm-hmm. And John doesn't want to hear that, though. He's very against killing.
Yeah, he's like,
does
you
not
just
want
don't
to
get it.
He is holding on to his humanity, and it's like his big ethos that he has. Like, I'm not going to kill. I will not go that far. And it's like this thing that he holds on to, which in the end kind of doesn't, I mean, he doesn't have to kill anybody. He never puts himself in that. But if we look at, like, the long trajectory of the Terminator movies, that doesn't really hold up very true.
Well, that's a good
John
point.
Connor, we'll put a bullet in a motherfucker shortly soon here. So, Nick Stahl is a very different John Connor, as we'll find out in Terminator 3.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, he's very anti-killing and is like, just, no, I don't want to do it. But even, like I said, Arnie is like, she might have a point, though. Like, she might have a point.
You'd expect that kind of attitude from the savior of humanity, you know?
Yeah, right, yeah.
He would be incredibly morally against it, you know?
He's Jesus, right?
Exactly.
He's a techno-Jesus. He's a techno-Jesus wearing a Public Enemy t-shirt. What more not to love, right? So she shows up and to Dyson's humble abode. Living large, Dyson is. And she decides to just fucking unload on him from a distance. And not the best shot, though, because she kind of has a little bit of
hesitation, which cost her the ability to just shoot him in the back of the head. And instead, his kid comes in the room. He ducks. She shoots the computer screen, and that kind of gets in the moment to get behind there as she unloads a bunch of rounds on him before she decides to take it to a personal level. And that's when she has her breakdown as she's not able to kill him. And Arnie and John show up to save the day.
Yeah, and this is where she finally, because she's been real cold towards John this whole time, very, very machine-like, very much like when he thought she was hugging him, she was just checking him for wounds, and like, so she's really not very nurturing at this point. And, but then she has this breakdown, and that's when she kind of comes out of it, and she's like, I think is at this point where she's like, "I love you, John." Like, is that?
I'm not sure if it's right or it's around this point though. Yeah. I know at this point is where she has that breakdown after she sees the kid, and kind of what she has become, and kind of puts her in a position where she's not able to just shoot Dyson and kill him immediately. Instead, she kind of hesitates, and that gives him his family enough time to get him away from her, and enough time for John and Arnie to show up to take the gun away, as she kind of begins to just kind of grovel in the corner, not unlike myself when I was told I was the savior of the human race. And so now that she is just sitting in the corner, Arnie is told to show them, and this is when he pulls his skin off and shows Dyson exactly what he creates in the future.
Yes.
And so Dyson gets set down and told he is going to... If John is told he's Jesus, Dyson is told here, you're basically the devil. You're the one that's going to kill millions and millions of people.
He's the Oppenheimer,
Yeah, which is, she actually mentions that, directly makes that reference later. Yeah,
men like you.
Yeah, you just think you're so smart. Yeah,
you don't know what it's like to bring life. You just bring destruction. And it's like, I get it.
Yeah. So the plan here is basically to, the plan here is basically to destroy everything Dyson's ever created and leave behind no trace of any of his work, which is a decent enough plan, and they decide to go forward with it. Yeah. And he accepts it. He's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. You're right. I need to destroy everything I've ever worked on.
After you see him cut off his hand, or like cut off the skin. So there's 3 parts of this movie that have stuck with me, and I have a really hard time watching. Is the first scene that really stuck with me and is like hard to watch is when the T-1000 as the stepmom or the foster mom just reaches out and jabs at stabs him in the face. That scene where they reveal that still messes me up. Then the dream scene, and then him cutting the skin off his arm and hand. Those 3 scenes horrify me still.
Mine were probably the dream scene. That one's very, very scary. Like just the skeleton and the burning.
It's awful.
The end, whenever he gets shot and he's like making that horrific John Carpenter thing type scream, and he falls into it. That, and then the part where Dyson is like hyperventilating right before he dies. Those 3 parts always have stuck out in my mind.
I forgot about that.
He's like, I don't know how much longer I can hold this. And he's just sitting there breathing and breathing and breathing, and then he just drops it. Yeah. Speaking of which, because that's what we're building to, because so they go to Dyson's workplace of employment with the job to blow it the fuck up, which they almost complete without any real problems. I mean, there's some snafus along the way, but it's not total foobar or anything. For the most part, the plan's working pretty well until the police fucking show up. Like most plans, they're going well until the police show up. And at this time, when the police show up, and I love that they're like, "How many cops are outside?" And John's like, "I think all of them."
Yeah, that was a great line.
And Arnie's like, "I'll take care of the cops." And he's like, "No killing." He's like, "I got it." And he goes and he takes care of the cops. No killing. Even have the human casualties. None.
0.0.
Video game score. Yeah, perfect score. And so they think that they're going to get out free, but now the police do finally show up. And of course, what are they going to do? Fucking shoot the black man as Dyson gets shot. And
it's what they're trained to do.
It is in their training, I believe. And so Dyson is shot, and he makes the tough call
without any words at all. Him and Sarah just like lock eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and she knows exactly what his plan is, which is like, I can't live through this. I'm just I'll be the one that blows it up. Get out of here.
White people keep shooting him.
They keep doing it. They just keep on doing it. So John and Sarah and Arnie get out of there just barely as Dyson eventually blows the place up in another really cool scene where we get the wraparound shot of everything blowing the fuck up. You can tell if we're going to spend money blowing it up, let's make it look fucking cool.
Oh,
and they make it look pretty fucking cool.
It is
maybe
so
the
cool.
coolest like explosion scene of a building outside of like, I'm trying to think of other movies that like Demolition Man had some good ones, obviously.
Demolition Man had some good ones.
Dark Knight with Joker in the hospital, that one's pretty classic.
Oh yeah, that one's pretty classic.
There's some other good ones, but yeah, this one has a pretty classic like building explosion scene.
Oh yeah,
definitely up there. Definitely up there.
Oh yeah, I mean, like Independence Day might have had some that are close, but not like this one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So this is another part that I love is that they're almost out and they need Arnie to get them out completely. And what does he do? He kneecaps every single cop on his way out. Yeah. I just love that. He's just like, well, I won't kill them. I will shoot them all in the knees. So that way they can't.
Like they will not be a threat anymore.
Yeah.
And then he grabs that gas canister, like shooting gun, or that gas launcher or whatever it is, and just starts shooting people with that. Like, that's gotta hurt.
It probably would knock the wind out of you, at least.
Oh, I mean...
Once again, it wouldn't kill you, but would probably knock you out.
Oh, it would hurt like... Oh, man, you'd feel like you're dying.
Yeah. And not to be outdone, the T-1000 shows up in his Harley and decides to do a fucking sick fucking trick out of the building as he jumps from the building to the helicopter, where he then enters into the helicopter, takes it over, and we get another fucking chase scene. And this one is the top one. Obviously, save the best for last, as it goes from a helicopter and a car to another car and a truck, and then we got 18-wheelers that Arnie's surfing on, full of liquid nitrogen. We got liquid nitrogen exploding, all kinds of crazy shit happening in this prolonged chase scene that really kind of culminates with the end of the movie as it builds to like the final like showdown between all of these characters.
This climax is awesome.
Oh yeah, the end of this movie is really, really well done. Like it starts with basically it's like 3 rounds of Terminator boxing. So round 1, ding, 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 right? Arnie gets the upper hand, right? You think, oh, he's killed the Wicked Witch. Hasta la vista, baby. Blows him up. Oh, wait, he's going to come back, though, right? So then we get our second fight, and this time Arnie loses. He gets his arm trapped in, and he gets basically destroyed, and he has to kind of have his whole programming kind of turned back on.
Yeah, it was like... Because
it's a good thing that in
through his power supply or something.
Yeah, he hits him through his power supply. Yeah, it's a good thing that in the future, John had the Terminator programs watch 127 Hours with James Franco, because he pulls his arm off just like that.
Yeah,
just rips it the fuck off.
Oh yeah,
but
oh man.
So while we think Arnie's down for the count, it's just Sarah against the T-1000, and she's able to get John out of there, but then he has her trapped and basically wants her to cry for John so he can then learn how that cry is and mimic it and get John to come, which is what he tries to do at the end of the movie, which ends up kind of counting against him. And I love how they set this up, that he's walking on metal along the grates. So every footstep he takes, his foot kind of touches a different form of metal, and it kind of absorbs that metal for just a minute. Because at the end, that's how John notices the difference between them. He looks down at the feet, and he sees that the feet are like metal grate. And he's like, oh, wait a minute, that's not like what it's supposed to look like. Yeah. And this leads to, of course, round number 3, fight. And this time, Arnie's able to get the upper hand on him once again.
The way that they do this, like, because Sarah is just shooting him with this, like, I don't know what, like this high-powered shotgun, and it's really kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's like stopping him basically. He's got to recover.
It's like putting holes in him.
Yeah. So he's having to recover each time, but then she runs out of bullets, and she's like having to like cock the thing with one arm.
Yeah, each shot pushes him I was gonna say each shot pushes him closer and closer to the edge, and he's about to break.
Oh,
exactly.
yes, we both got there.
That's what happens when Linkin Park is everywhere.
I was going to say, we still have our millennial card, so.
So Arnie comes over the conveyor belt or gear belt or whatever the hell it is, and he's completely and just barely hanging on, but just enough to shoot him. And this is where we get the scene where he gets basically like exploded in half and lets out this horrific shriek sound. Is just like he's screaming, and then he gets fucked into the lava below, and we get some cool CGI as we see all the different characters he absorbed kind of melting and screaming as they get disintegrated down.
And it still looks like good CGI now. Like if a movie had something like that, yeah. So, you know.
It has aged pretty well. And this is where we get to the end where Arnie tells them, I can't self-terminate, so I need you to do it for me. Mm-hmm. John is very against this, but eventually they have to accept the fact that Arnie has to go. And, of course, he goes out with giving him a thumbs up, which has become a classic part of this movie.
Oh, yes.
And this is the end, and then we get the driving scene that kind of sets up, where we're going to pick up later on. And man, I get why they turned this into a whole like lineage of movies.
Yeah.
But I really wish they wouldn't have. Or if they were going to, I think James Cameron should have always been in charge of them all.
Yeah, for real.
Because Terminator 3 is just fucking awful.
I've seen it once.
The other ones, Terminator Genesis, Terminator fucking Suntown, Sunshine, Sunjob, I don't know, whatever it's called. They're just not very good. They really suck.
Yeah,
and I really wish they would have just not made more of them and just left it at this. Or if James Cameron was going to spend all of his time and energy in a series, make it this instead of Avatar. But
for real.
Instead, this is maybe the last really good Terminator movie that we get. Not the last one made. I think there's 4 more after this, but
I think there
this is kind of the peak of the Terminator franchise, at least so far.
It really is.
Maybe somebody will come around years from now and bring us back to our prime. But right now, this is as good as it gets.
Do you think in 2029 we're going to get another one? August 2029?
I think if everyone is, I don't think Arnie's going to, I don't know, I was going to say, he's going to be too old by that point to really have anything to do with it. But, AI being what it is, the fucking computers, Skynet might write Terminator 2029, and we'll just have it give its own version of it. It'll be a much different version of a film.
It's going to be pro robot.
It'll be made by Gork AI, programmed by Elon Musk, and it'll start with a prayer to Mein Fuhrer, and everything will be good, and no one will ask any questions. It'll all be fine.
You know who has it really hard?
Fine.
White people.
It's true.
It's
never been hard. Never been this hard for me, man. It's just a real struggle. Anyway, so speaking of struggles, next week we will struggle back on here as we talk about 28 Days Later, as we start talking about that whole series of films. But before we do that, Travis, do you have any final words on Terminator 2?
So Terminator 2, it's just, rewatching it, it's just, I go right back to when I was like 8 years old, and it's the same feeling, the same things horrify me, the same things excite me. I like that everything just holds up. I don't know. Movies just aren't made like this apparently anymore because the CGI is noticeably worse most of the time. And they just, I don't know. It just doesn't, they don't use their budget as well as this movie used its budget. Like sometimes you'll see that where a movie will go from like the first movie is a kind of low budget, pretty independent movie. And then they get money. And it's just awful. It's just a bad time. They everything that was good about the movie that had to be cut corners and all that is just gone. But this one, and I guess because they still had money troubles, it still holds on to that, and you still get a lot of that. We need to make this work. So this movie's awesome. It's one of the best movies ever made, I think, especially because not many movies you can say that from like 90 for it to still hold up. So it's a big, this is a great movie.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I can really add anything onto that. I think you kind of fundamentally expressed everything that it is. This is one of the best movies ever made, regardless of genre. It's one of the most important movies ever made, regardless of genre.
And if you've never seen it, then you are doing a disservice to yourself. You should go watch fucking
Honestly.
Terminator 2. Because
And if you,
even if you hate Arnie, even if you hate action movies, it is a fun time in spite of all of those things. It's kind of the preeminent
you still get
action movie to watch.
It is, and you still get some of that Arnie, like he's acting. He's it's not like the first movie. It's
I mean he's like, so Arnie's not like an Oscar-winning actor, but if film acting is mostly in the face and having an expressive face, and stage acting is having an expressive body. Right, because on stage you need to project your presence to a much wider audience, much further back. So you have to kind of be more kind of exaggerant with your expressions with your body. Use your hands, talk with your body. Whereas in film, it's a different thing. It's more it's more facial, right?
Yes,
it's more close ups. Let's see your face. Arnie's face is full of charisma, and he's able to convey a lot of things in that way. So in that way, he's a really good actor. Right?
Absolutely.
Is he great at delivering Shakespearean dialogue? Probably not.
Probably
but,
not.
He knows that. He rarely ever steps outside of his comfort zone with movies. He kind of knows what he's good at. He's good at playing.
You're never going to see him doing a soliloquy,
We say that, and all of a sudden it's going to be like, Kenneth Branagh's next movie is Arnold in Hamlet, something like that.
No, that'd be kind of awesome, actually.
I would actually watch that. I would watch the shit out of that. I'd watch the shit out of that. Well, hopefully we will see you guys next week and to talk about 28 Days Later.
Yes.
And thank you guys for watching. See you guys later.
Take it easy.
Hot damn, college boy. Thank you so much for listening. Every single week we come back with a new movie about the end of the world, or a movie about the beginning of the end of the world, or what happens after the end of the world, or maybe one day we just decide to watch Showgirls. Who knows, right? But every week we are coming back, and thank you so much for stopping in this week and listening to the whole episode and hearing our thoughts on whatever train wreck of a movie I chose to force my friend to watch this week. I'm a good person like that. And thank you for also being a good person. There you go. If you want to be a really, really fucking cool person, which you obviously are, why don't you give us a like, and actually, more importantly, give us a subscribe. I find that to be more important. I don't know if the algorithm says it is. I don't really give a shit. But thank you for your patronage either way, and clicking all the things and doing all the stuff. Bye. Thanks.